2009. Authorities have stated there is no connection, but law enforcement in Wisconsin has not ruled out foul play in that case. One they report has never gone cold. Daily updates continue to pour in regarding Summer's fate, although the news is never good and rehashes the same scant information. Volunteers working under the direction of dozens of law enforcement agencies who search on foot and in the air, trying to find a little girl who would have no reason to stray. Her father Don has said Summer would never leave our hill. Her mother Candace is too distraught to speak with reporters. Candace has passed a polygraph regarding her daughter's disappearance. As Summer's story darkens into its own mystery, the baffling question of Rose Marie Bly's whereabouts lingers. Some of the details sketch a portrait of an unstable marriage and a mother who seemed unlikely to abandon her children, but law enforcement has no suspects. Rose was a mum and wife involved in a tumultuous new marriage to a man named Christopher Larson, who she wed in February 2009. After she vanished, Larson told media he thought she'd left, but he did not know where she was. Rose grew up down the road from St. Croix Falls in tiny Grantsburg, which has a population of 1,384 in the far western part of the state, where Polk County butts up against the Minnesota border and the scenic St. Croix River. Heading out on a Friday night for a few drinks, she left home after supper with her husband and his father. The last person who saw her was Chris Larson. Rose's destination was another tiny town, Cushing, just a few miles north. It was late August 2009, and the day had been seasonably cool, with gusty winds and a portent of autumn on its way. Rose got behind the wheel of her car, a white 2001 Pontiac Grand Am, and began the 5-mile journey to Cushing at 7:30 p.m. She would drive through the Barrens, an ecological oasis of stunted pine and oak forests clinging to sandy soil on mostly open terrain, which overshadows the tiny towns that dot the region. On a Friday night, the roads may have had a few more travellers than usual, but the area has never seen much traffic. She drove north on Highway 87, which remained unpaved until the 1950s. Her plan was to meet her cousin for a few drinks at a local bar. Rose Bly was a small woman, 5 feet tall and 110 pounds. She had brown hair that she dyed blonde or red frequently, and goes to the post office. Her cousin reported never seeing Rose that night or thereafter. The couple had at least one domestic abuse incident, which played out around the time of Larson's initial divorce petition. It devolved into a he-said, she-said scenario. He accused her of slapping him. She maintained he'd put her in a headlock and slammed her to the ground. Larson petitioned for divorce after the police came out to de-escalate the conflict, but the two reconciled shortly thereafter, and the petition was withdrawn. According to LeaderNewsroom.com, Bly had an active bench warrant for a misdemeanor disorderly conduct charge, later amended to domestic abuse. The warrant was filed 3 months prior to her disappearance and seems likely related to the domestic incident in June, after police showed up on the Bly-Larson doorstep to break up a fight. Rose pled not guilty to the misdemeanor domestic abuse charge in July 2009, but due to her disappearance, the warrant has never been resolved. In 2010, Larson was granted sole custody of the 2 girls. According to a best friend from high school, Nicole Still, who posted on the Help Find Rose Bly Facebook group, Rose said her husband had told her he would never let her take the girls. Law enforcement has extensively interviewed Rose's ex-husband, friends, family and acquaintances. They didn't find evidence of any unusual patterns in her life prior to her disappearance, but one fact isn't up for dispute. She was a caring mother who put her children first. The Twin Cities Pioneer Press followed the story from its beginning and interviewed investigator Pete Johnson. I think I've heard that from just about everybody we talked to, said Pete, who shared the initial investigation with Lisa Dettelsven. Nobody believed that she would take off and leave her kids. In the days following Rose's disappearance, investigators interviewed community members, used helicopters to conduct a search, and drained a small lake adjacent to the parking lot where her car was discovered. About a week before she disappeared, Rose went horseback riding, something she'd loved since childhood. She took a tumble and for the next few days told her mum, Candy's Hera, she'd been getting headaches. Her mother suggested she go to the doctor. After Rose went missing, her mother wondered if she might have lost her way, perhaps because she had a serious head injury. There is no medical evidence, however, that Rose was mentally impaired. In the ensuing years, the theory of a disorientated woman wandering away has begun to look unlikely. On March 4th, 2021, Candy's Hera posted on the Help Find Rose Facebook group that authorities are not ignoring the case, but haven't been giving out details zero leads and corroborated Chris Larson's account that she called him that night, August the 21st, the night she went missing. This was the last time her cell phone had any activity. Nothing about the vehicle, except its abandonment, was suspicious. DNA samples were taken from the Pontiac, but results have not been definitive enough to generate any persons of interest, much less a suspect or an arrest, and have never been shared with the public. The case investigation began with the Polk County Sheriff's Office, but as the leads dried up and the possibility of foul play emerged, local authorities asked for FBI guidance to make sure they were digging in the right places. Speculation about what happened to Rose Bly in the absence of hard and fast evidence runs rampant online. In the tiny communities of St. Croix and Grantsburg, some high school friends remember Rose being bullied as a teen, but most commenters send prayers for the family and fondly remember her. Three theories are bandied about amongst those following the case. There isn't enough evidence to put one forward, as they are all speculative. Some community members think that Chris Larson, her ex-husband, is involved, despite a lack of evidence tying him to a crime. Others believe it's possible Rose could have voluntarily left to start a new life. The third option, that she encountered a stranger and fell victim to foul play, will always remain a possibility. Larson took a polygraph in late August, only a week after Rose went missing, and passed. According to authorities, he is not a suspect. He is the person who reported her missing on August 22nd, 2009, and has no criminal history. Larson has continued to live and work in the community, where he raises his two girls. Law enforcement maintains they have not ruled out anyone, however, as they sift through the small pile of clues. Polk County authorities have never announced any persons of interest, although Larson received the most attention. The husband is always suspect number one, so the focus on him at the outset was standard procedure. Second, it's possible Rose Bly left town with another person, explaining why her vehicle was abandoned.